The day that shame nearly killed me. It was a long time ago, and I went into personal therapy, sat down with a psychotherapist. Been suffering from many years of hurt, pain, complete self-hatred. I just didn't want to live anymore. Absolutely loathed who I was. Felt so ashamed and so disgusted with who I was. And I know that sounds really like heavy, right? But it's true. That's what my experience was back then. So I went into therapy, and I didn't even know what shame was. I just thought, yeah, I hate myself. I'm disgusting. And not because I had done anything wrong, but just because of the way life was and the way I navigated myself through it. It was just so heavy. It was so difficult. I was in so much turmoil and despair. So, going to therapy for me was the last chance to learn. It was like, if I don't do this, I'm going to die, because I couldn't bear the pain and the suffering and the burden of it anymore. So anyway, I went into therapy, and I remember this therapist sitting opposite me, this kind, caring lady. I really needed her. And, I started to tell her the little bits of my story. And then I felt this incredibly powerful, overwhelming sense of, oh no, I'm too much. She can't hear this. And how can I burden her with my story, with my pain? And you know what? It was so needed. I had to do it. It did literally save my life. But initially it was so hard, because I remember going away from them sessions just feeling, who am I? Who am I to talk about this story? What if my stories are wrong? What if I misunderstood all of it and it was me? I started to blame myself. What if I was the problem? What if I'm the broken one? And that comes back to shame. And I think shame is at the core of all of it, everything. Especially for men. We carry so much, and we don't like to tell other people our stories. We don't like to be too much, or, it's very difficult. And I think that's why there's the highest suicide rate amongst men, because, we were told to be strong. Boys don't cry, man up, get on with it, soldier on, pull yourself together. And, some of those beliefs were helpful in some situations, right? But generally speaking, long term, they're flawed strategies that they're not good. They don't help us long term. They cause such pain and distance and avoidance. And we'll do anything to get away from it, whether it's drink, drugs, other types of addiction, whatever. But then this is where the healing comes from, right? When we lean in, when we face those parts of ourselves that are really in pain and hurt. Because when shame comes into the light, it begins to dissolve, it begins to slowly melt away. Then the true self, who we really are, begins to emerge. And that takes a lot of time, takes a lot of patience, a lot of care. And sometimes it takes just the right person sitting in front of you to witness you through that journey. To metaphorically at least hold your hand and maybe become someone that you never had. That really strong, caring, stable, safe person that could hold you in that space. That takes a lot. Fuck me, does it take a lot. But that's what it is, and that's what it requires. And I wish more men could find it in them, that little bit of courage, that little bit of faith, that they can lean into that process and begin that journey. And there is hope, and you can turn it around and you can change your life, absolutely. And that's what I did. I really lent into the therapy and kind of went in with I don't want to leave any stone unturned. I want to face all of it. And that was terrifying. Absolutely, unbelievably terrifying. But it was worth it. And over time, I just look forward to going to therapy. I enjoyed it. You know, what else is there? What's next? What can I discover about myself? Oh, another part of me that's doing that thing again. Hello, my old friend. Come in, let's have a cup of tea together. That's how I talk to myself, and still do. And it's such a refreshing way of turning things around. And everything is relational. It is the key to everything. How do I relate to the parts of me that are in pain? How do those parts of me that are in pain relate to me? You know? Yeah, and that is it. And if I can sit with those parts of myself, embrace them with care and compassion and understanding, and they begin to change, they really do. So, this is it. That's where it's at. You know, I know this started off really dark, but yeah, shame nearly killed me, because if I didn't get to the bottom of it, I didn't work it out, I had an exit plan, because I didn't see any other way out. But I'm so glad that I found a tiny, tiny bit of courage just to go and offer that to another person who could sit there with me in that. And I'm grateful for her forever, as I am with all the other people I've met, other therapists, you know, really clever, smart people, caring, kind, compassionate people. They've all made such a great thing in my life, you know, great difference. Truly grateful for that, and I hold them dearly in my heart and my mind. Yeah, love and peace to all of you.